Martial arts is more than just philosophy and flow and like Bruce Lee quotes. Martial arts is fighting, and it's brutal and ugly and a hideous thing sometimes, and very hard and difficult to wrap your head around that that's what we're actually doing. I grew up in Aurora, Colorado, in the suburbs, just super normal. I was a really quiet kid. I kept to myself. I didn't really care about too many things other than sports. As I got a little bit older though, my ego kind of developed into a thing that felt like it needed to be cool. And then in high school, that cool kid ego that I was developing kind of needed something a little bit more important. That's luckily when I found martial arts. I just signed up into a gym not knowing any better and got really plugged in with a lot of key players right off of the bat. 2 weeks in, I went in and I competed with all of the guys that had been training for a long time, and I got second place out of probably like 20 people. And I started scratching my head and I was like, oh, okay, so I can maybe do this.
Enter the Sandman!
Huge flying knee for Sandhagen. Mouthpiece goes flat. Cory Sandhagen living up to the hype tonight.
Oh, my God.
Sandhagen with a highlight for the ages.
Colorado's own Cory Sandhagen!
I had built up an ego in me that I was the prospect that was going to make it. That's what everyone around me told me. That's what I had told myself for a lot of years, and I was just going to be an undefeated guy all the way up until I won the belt, and then I was going to keep crushing and crushing and crushing. I was going to be Khabib, and I wasn't Khabib. When I lost that fight, as dramatic as it might sound, it really crushed me, and it really made me ask a lot of really serious questions to myself about who it is that I thought that I was, because obviously what happened wasn't supposed to happen. It was way more devastating than what a normal person would take something like that. I spent maybe 6 months every weekend that I could that I didn't have to work. I would go up to the mountains and just kind of listen to Eckhart Tolle's books about being here now and the power of now, and just mindful stuff that I had never heard about ever before, and just be as silent as I could in my mind. And that's when I started kind of realizing that there was this watcher behind a lot of the thoughts and ideas that I had about stuff. And that really sparked a pretty huge fascination in what that watcher was. And that just took me down a complete route of, the quote unquote spiritual journey or whatever. As a person, you have to have an ego, but that's okay. It's like we have to be characters, we have to have personalities, we have to do all of this stuff. But that's what they are to me. They're not the watcher. They're just these external things that we kind of have to exist inside of, just because that's the way that this world is set up and stuff. But inside is this internal thing that feels unshakable, but it's just this place of peace that I have inside of myself. Because I think I have this, I'm just this thing that the watcher is doing, that I can be this really malleable person, and I can change a lot of things about myself, personality-wise, thinking-wise. I can really convince this thing of some crazy shit, And that's just kind of what I started to do, is just train myself to be a different type of person. I thought that when I lost and I became 5-1 that I was going to need 5 more wins. It was going to take 3 more years for me to be able to get signed to the UFC. And then it literally took 8 months later. They called me right after I TKO'd this guy in the first round. That was my first big lesson in understanding that sometimes things that seem horrible are not as horrible as you think. When I got signed, I kind of just started crushing really immediately. And a big piece of that though was because I could literally go into the cage and be fearless. Look at competing like this now. It's not about getting a certain emotion inside you. It's not like being motivated. It's not dedicated. It's not any of that stuff. High level competing is just how much focus power can you bring to the moment. Trevor Whitman is really big on the mental side of stuff. I had to let down some filters and had to hear things a bunch of times in order for me to start to believe it. And a lot of what Trevor would talk about is like, man, start speaking things into existence, start believing in your heart that you're this, that you're that. I was like, hey coach, like, how do you want me to do this? Because the way that I'm doing it obviously isn't right. Like being humble and being like realistic isn't getting me title shots. So like you're the expert, you have a bunch of champions, what do you think I should do? He's like, man, start saying that you deserve it next. Like start believing that in your heart and then start saying it out on every single interview that you do. And the entire time I believed it in my heart. I forced myself to believe myself because that's how stupid we are as people, is we could convince ourselves of some crazy shit. I convinced myself of that. And then I just started speaking it truthfully, like it was my truth, quote unquote, my truth. And it literally turned into me getting the title shot. Like, I don't know if you would label that as manifesting, but I kind of just started believing some shit, saying some shit, and then it turned into some shit. So, I don't know, maybe I'm a magician or a wizard now. I don't know. But I'm saying it where I'm 1 for 1 right now. I always take time, especially during fight week, to be really, really grateful. It's something that I could definitely be a lot better at, but I feel like I'm pretty decent at it. But especially during fight week, I always have a moment where I'm like, I put me here. I think that would be a disruptive way to think about like all of life. But in a moment, I think it's okay to be like, man, I put myself here. Like I put myself in this situation. It was tough and it was hard. And I took a lot of my responsibilities for all of the things that I messed up, and I fixed those things, and that's what put me here. And it feels like a really big change that I've been able to make in myself. I'm noticing that I'm kind of a different person. The way that I'm reacting to things, the way that I'm doing things, how I'm talking is all a little bit different. And it's just coming out naturally. And again, man, I really attribute it to like an internal commitment to thinking and being a certain way. And then everything else kind of starts to flow from the inside to the outside into all of the actions and stuff. Felt like I kind of got a weight lifted off of my shoulders to where I was like, oh cool, I can be myself and still get what I want. That was like a cool feeling. Because I always thought that I had to be someone else or be more interesting or be more charismatic, fill in the blank in order for me to get an opportunity. But in the last year, I've really leaned into just being myself, and now look where it got me. So that's good evidence that maybe that's the way to do it. When I look back on my career, I will know that there isn't like one single thing that I couldn't have done better, ever. What matters most is that you can say that you did every single thing that you can do. That's the most important thing.
My name is Cory Sandhagen, and I'm a UFC fighter and human made of stardust.